Always will be.
Well, we'll take up a collection in December for all of these. Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is the October Harvest Moon open mic. We thought we'd probably link these to our moons. It might be a fun way to go through the seasons together. I'm really glad to see all of you this evening. This open mic is sponsored by the Pat Conroy Literary Center in partnership with the South Carolina Writers Association. We have a nice group of talented individuals here this evening. And it's hopefully it'll be a night of inspiration, positivity, and just some goodwill that we all need this time of the year and in general. So welcome. Later this evening, Rebecca Dwight Bruff is our featured reader, and she'll be at the very end carrying us all through to the end of our evening together. But until then, we'll kick off this evening with Niles Riddick. Reddick, I always say, I'm sorry, Niles.
It's okay.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Why don't you just give us a little introduction to what you're going to read for us this evening, and
Okay.
And we look forward to it. 3-minute read, everybody, so remember that.
This is a very new flash fiction piece that I recently wrote titled Kisses. But I was going to share with you all that tomorrow I will post this, but a magazine in New York, I think called Valiant Scribe, is coming out with a piece I did called Pillar of Salt. And it's a wonderful piece. I dedicated it to one of my best friends' daughter who was killed in New York at Barnard College back in the spring, last fall. Her name was Tess Majors. And you probably saw it on CNN or one of the news channels. Stabbed in a park right by this college. So anyway, I wrote this piece for her, and it's finally coming out in New York tomorrow. So I'll post that on Facebook if you're on there and you want to read that. It's a good piece. It's a depressing piece, obviously, but it's a good piece. This is not a very happy piece either, unfortunately. But it is titled Kisses. It's not autobiographical in any way. Lizzie tells him, says here reindeer in Finland have high levels of radiation from Chernobyl in Russia because the westerly winds deposited the fallout on the moss reindeers eat, and it will take generations to overcome. Another article is about Graceland, how they remodeled, added new displays, and even hold concerts on the property. I should take you. Go to Bill Street and eat some barbecue and visit Sun Records where Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, Elvis, and Carl Perkins started. You used to love Jerry Lee, Daddy, remember? In Honduras, the people celebrate, feast, and thank God when it rains fish once a year, even though no one knows why it rains fish. It's nuts. It had been a long morning in the emergency room at the hospital, and out of habit, Lizzie walked next door to the nursing home's memory unit to visit her dad at lunch. It had been too late to save the Episcopal priest who had a heart attack over chicken salad during a book club, but she saved a boy's life from an artery bleed after a knife fight, got a school teacher into surgery for a ruptured appendix, and balanced insulin levels from a diabetic crash from funnel cake at cotton candy at the fair in the parking lot by Sears. Daddy, do you remember when you took me there? Of course you do. Alzheimer's hasn't robbed you of everything. Somewhere deep inside was Lizzie's dad, the guy who taught her everything, who was there for her when she scraped her knee or when a relationship went bad. She loved when something connected and his inside lights came on and shone in his blue eyes. It gave her a spoonful of hope, and she knew he wasn't the sum of his aged body parts, but the whole of his experience. He was also the personification of gentle and kind, like many who knew him recalled, whether it was holding a door, allowing another car to go first at the four-way stop, or simply comforting someone with a touch on their shoulders. When Lizzie gazed out the window and watched the rain run down the glass, her dad's voice pulled her back. "Lizzie?" "Yes, Dad, I'm here." "What the hell are you talking about?" She took his hand and smiled. "Just catching you up on the world." "They gave me chocolate pudding last night." "That's great." "No, it tasted horrible, unsweetened." "Better for you," she said. "No, it's not. Did you bring me anything?" "Yes, I brought you some chocolate kisses and we'll put them in your nightstand." Lizzie pulled them from a side pocket in her purse and put them in the drawer with the rest he forgot were there. And when she closed the drawer, the disease pulled him back into his past before she had been born. Lizzie leaned into him, kissed his forehead, and walked back to the emergency room where she would help save those she could. That's it.
Very nice.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Niles, it was incredibly well written. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I think spoonful of hope. So it may have been tough, but at least you gave us a spoonful of hope.
I stole that from Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews.
Writers don't steal anything.
I love when he closed the drawer, it pulled him back into the past. Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you, Niles.
Yeah,
And
let
good
me
luck.
just say hello to my friend Tim. I'm so glad to see Tim on here.
Yeah, Tim, hi.
Niles, Jane, how are you?
How are you?
I'm sorry to be tardy.
That's okay.
Children,
okay.
children, dogs, and cats. So I apologize for coming in the middle of Niles's reading.
Well, you're supposed to say children, dogs, and cats. Oh my.
Oh my.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have Pam Campbell and or Pamela. I don't know what you like better, Pam.
Oh,
And I don't have any idea what you're going to do this evening. If it's going to be prose or poetry, but we're looking forward to it.
okay. Thank you. This is a prose. It's a fiction piece. I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. Just kind of pour it out on the page, and I'll follow it and see where it takes me. Rosie. Rosie's tiny bare feet puffed dust clouds with each halting step. Her legs were purple welted and oozed blood. Tears had long dried in muddy streaks down her thin cheeks. Dawn had just brushed black night off the ridge by the time she reached the small church nestled in the fold of the mountain and bordered by Troublesome Creek. She slipped in the back door that Preacher always left ajar for her after he found her one morning asleep and huddled against the locked door of the church. Rosie's mother had run off before Rosie even had a memory of her face, run off with the man who Preacher took the job of. Left her with her daddy, who was more drunk than sober most days and would disappear when the drinking took a hold of him. Daddy left her with a woman and told her, "This is your mama now, and you mind her." Rosie tried, but it seemed to stoke a fire in Mama. Rosie had a cat once. It was black, just like her shadow, and that's what she named it, Shadow. Shadow was the last soft spot Rosie had in the run-down, bramble-covered shack alongside Troublesome Creek until Mama made him disappear. She stretched out on the wooden church pew made smooth and deep by centuries of folk asking forgiveness for what they had done or not done. She tucked the cornflower blue pillow under her head that Preacher's wife made just for her. Preacher said so. He told Rosie it would always be there for her. Rosie pretended it was made from the sky and that it held her in its softness. Preacher's wife tucked a picture book in a pocket she had sewn on the underside of the pillow. Rosie looked at the pictures and dreamed of tigers and lions and bears. The last call of the whippoorwill gave way to the daybird's chorus, and the book tumbled to the floor. Her long black eyelashes rested on her cheeks. A breath of air that smelled like jasmine warmed her face and roused her. She looked into cornflower blue eyes, framed by black stripes on a white face. She rubbed her eyes and opened them again. The tiger was still there. She pinched herself, sure she was dreaming. The pinch hurt, and the tiger did not disappear back into her dreams. He stood taller than the pew bench. Taut muscles rippled under his fur when he drew the length of him beside her. She reached out and scratched gentle-like behind one of its ears. His fur was warm and fluffy. The tiger closed his mouth and blew through his nostrils and snorted, chuff. Rosie scratched again, chuff. Rosie slid off the bench onto his back and hugged him with her body, chuff. Widow Pike, who is not known to take a drink of any kind, save for medicinal purposes, swore that morning that she saw the shape of a tiger with a young girl on its back in the clouds above her vegetable garden. And on a long tether held in the tiger's mouth was a flying woman that was a spitting image of Rosie Blackguard's stepmama. And just as they crested that ridge, that tiger let go of that tether, and that woman flew no more. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, I love that. I just love that.
Thank you.
Wow. Great images,
love-
wonderful images.
I love what the father says. This is your mama and minder now. Realistic.
Yeah. Thank you.
That
Uh,
almost read like poetry. That was
Yeah,
just,
that was beautiful, Pam. That was beautiful. And the pillow made from the sky. Thank you very much. Yeah. I was afraid. So we've got Barry following you up. So we've had Niles and Pam with so I'm counting on you, Barry, to get this a little bit more on the upbeat side.
I'm feeling the pressure. So every Zoom, I have to decide, am I in a memoir mood or a poetry mood? And it looks like I'm in a poetry mood tonight. I picked a couple of poems from the forthcoming collection, maybe today, which they tell me is on, it's fast to me, but it's happening. I even have a cover now, which I'll share maybe next month. I have two poems. This one is a poem about the stuff that happens in bed between a man and a woman other than sex, mostly. It's called Pillow Talk. I have not changed pillowcases since you left 6 weeks ago, just to keep your scent around. Each morning I wake up spooning a quilt rolled into a Lucinda surrogate. Remember every night I would call you Toasty and you would call me Roasty? And we pledged never to reveal these embarrassments, though you feared one day they would show up in a poem, but I reassured you. Remember how we would whisper when the lights went out until it occurred to us, there's no one else here. What the heck are we always whispering for? Remember the night you woke me at 3 a.m. just to make love, and we did, and the next morning I had no recollection of it? Boy, were you pissed. Incidentally, if you're beautiful when you're angry is so patronizing, why did your teal blue eyes smile every time I said it? Remember the night I told you you're the smart, funny one? And you kept saying, no, you're the smart, funny one. And finally I said, okay, I'm the smart, funny one. And you said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Remember how I would fake snoring? The truth can now be told. I was only faking half the time. Remember the night I laughed so hard I fell out of bed and you wouldn't let me back in? And I said, okay, then I'll just get in my car and go stay in a luxury hotel somewhere. And I did. And you got in your car and followed me. And we spent that amazing night at the plaza. You know, when I returned from shopping Sunday, my friend Jack, the shrink, said he thinks I'm finally getting over you. I asked how he knew. And he said, look in the bag. And there they were, new pillowcases. I guess he didn't notice they were teal blue. Lots of hands clapping out there. I love that. This is a very short one, 5 lines. I like to read it every year, either at my anniversary of my mother's birthday or her passing. She would be 103. This is the anniversary of her birthday. coming up very shortly. It has an epigraph in memory, Lillian Davis Dixon Siswine. The title is Message from My Late Mother to All Governments. Here, here, no fighting. Stop it. Be careful with that. You'll hurt someone. All right, you guys, knock it off. No hitting, no hitting. I don't care who started it, no hitting. Don't leave this place looking like a cyclone hit it. What in the world is going on? Now look what you've done. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank
I
you.
know.
Fabulous. Very fabulous.
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Couple news channels that need that to be broadcast right now.
That's a good one. That's a great one.
Thank you.
Okay, you did it for us. Thank you, Barry.
Well, what a load off my shoulders that is.
All right, well, we're gonna follow you up with Mr. Tim Johnston. Welcome, Tim. So the kids are all away, the dogs are away, and you're good to, you're on mute. You're on mute, dear. You're on, yep, here we go. Wait.
How's
there
that?
we go. Perfect.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be on their best behavior.
Okay.
About a 20% chance of that.
All right, so why don't you give us some idea of what you're gonna read for us, and welcome.
I'm going to read for you the shortest story that I've ever written. How's that? I've never been a big, I've never been a person or a writer who sits down and says, I am going to write flash. But now I've done it 3 times in my career as a writer, and I'm kind of enjoying it. So it's a very short story called Shoebox Love. He saw the old Florsheim shoebox in the back of the attic, resting beneath the lamp, with the male cardinal standing sentinel under the ancient incandescent bulb. He left it there. He hadn't been looking for it. He'd been looking for the white plastic step stool. In the morning, he'd replace the dim bulb above the master vanity on Amanda's side. Best to use the morning energy and 3 eggs over medium to pursue the bulb change before watering the flowers. At 3 in the morning, he awoke. He'd had a dream. In the dream, there were 4 torn scraps of paper, a word written in black cursive on each, staring at him from the coffee table he hadn't kept after college. He didn't know where that coffee table went in 1971, but he knew where the scraps of paper went. They lived with him in secret for 49 years, hidden in 4 attics across the decades of children, grandchildren, and the kind of love that doesn't live in a shoebox. Careful not to awaken Amanda, he lowered himself out of bed and into his waiting slippers. He padded through the open doorway and down the hall to the ceiling's attic door that waited, like his slippers, to return him to the endless road of regret. He grabbed the pull cord and lowered the door until he could grip both sides of the ladder, extending it noiselessly to the floor. The WD-40 had yet to fail him. He'd happily do a commercial for the WD-40 people. Such was his gratitude on many 3 in the morning journeys to 1971, and the kind of love that does indeed live in shoeboxes. At the top of the attic steps, he rested to let his heart slow its staccato, then reached for the flashlight atop the trunk that had carried all 3 kids' clothes to all 3 kids' colleges. He shuffled to the attic's rear, careful to avoid Billy's old big wheel. He lifted the cardinal lamp and set it gently on the floor to the left of the Florsheim box. As he reached for the box, the old panic set in, the panic he'd felt in 1971. In the days and weeks that stretched into months and years, the panic whispering, how are you going to live this life without her? The panic had been tardy in 1971, 3 days late to be exact. He opened the box and retrieved the 4 scraps of yellow-lined paper. Sitting cross-legged despite the pain in his hips, he spread the pieces in a row on the wood plank floor. One at a time, he shone the light on each scrap. The first, the only one with a capital letter, said, "Do." The loop of the D caressing the O, carrying them both toward the second word, which featured a single letter, graceful and deserving, I. The third bore the awful verb, bore. The last revealed the end, you. He lifted the flashlight. "Do I bore you?" he whispered. He'd found the note under his dormitory door after attending a mixer as rush co-chairman of his fraternity. He'd shaken his head in youthful wonder. How on God's earth could she think she bored him? She didn't, naturally. 3 nights later, she broke up with him before dessert. Devastated, he'd pleaded and then surrendered, returning to his room in a fit of hurt, tearing the note into 4 small pieces. Later, when her best friend told him about the rumor that he had cheated on her, his righteous fury was that of a young man victimized. It wasn't his fault that there were devious and jealous people in the world. Now, sitting on the attic floor with a note in 4 pieces, he remembered that it hadn't been his fault that she was told the lie about him. He wouldn't have cheated on her with a gun to his head. What was his fault was that she believed it. She was hurt. She'd asked the right question. Do I bore you? There were 2 answers. The one that puts love in a shoebox, or the one that lives in the sun and rain, like forever flowers. He closed his eyes and thanked her again, wherever she and her own forever flowers might be, for teaching him to make the question unnecessary for the love of his life, who slept alone downstairs during his annual date with the good fortune that often accompanies regret.
Whoa. So, yeah, keep writing flash fiction, man. That was amazing. That was amazing.
That one, the things that you share with other writers, that one is personal for me. I'm not as old as this gentleman, but this happened. And so it's one of my more autobiographical stories. I actually was asked that question by my girlfriend in college. She wasn't satisfied with my answer, which was 3 words, of course not. I thought that was enough. And she really did believe that. And I later found out that she had been told something extracurricular that wasn't true, but the reality was it was my fault she believed it. So one day I knew I would write this. I just didn't think I'd write it that short. So.
Well, thank you very, very much for having the courage to write it and to share it. And you have not bored any of us this evening. Thank you, Tim.
I hope not. Okay.
Well done.
Okay, wow, well done. Our next 3 readers, because I want to give you guys a heads up, we have Brooke, Jane Addams, and Catherine Tandy Brown in that order. So Brooke McKinney, I put you, are you not going to read your shape? You don't want to follow Tim, I bet. That's, wait, you're not, you're on mute, so I have no idea. Help me.
Emily,
Okay,
you said I should read?
We would love to. Yeah, Emily's giving you a thumbs up. So
I won't forget you. I'll come back and take that apple pie off you that I brought you.
No, I finished that apple pie. Okay, yeah, I'll read. I do have something. I just
Great.
can't remember what all I've read
from this book. So I don't think I've read this little piece before.
Well, thank you, Brooke.
Thank you for having me. So this is post farm. If any of you've heard the farm or girly chapters, this is after that. Okay. It began with the 1997 Red Valley flood, one of the largest natural disasters in North Dakota history. The levees broke near Grand Forks, flooding the area with a river the color of blood. The town disappeared underneath, houses half submerged, the rooftops looked like scattered steeples. The flowing landscape of orange and dark red looked like Mars from far away. People stood at the edge of their devoured towns, their eyes scanning the warped valley, searching for their homes. Joe and I were hauling mobile homes their way. Paint chipped on the sides of our black semi, exposing the dull metal. There were 2 beds in the back, stacked like bunk beds. Joe called them sleepers. The cab smelled like wet clothes, and the curtains separating the sleepers were thick and heavy as saddles. Things seemed like they would be okay, and the farther we drove, the more I believed it. It seemed to distract us from all that had happened on the farm. Trouble pawed at me for another cheese cracker. As I held one out, he nibbled it gently, crumbs collecting in the seat. "Don't make a mess now," Joe said. Trouble was a black and tan mutt, the brown fur patches covering his paws and brows, a Rottweiler and Labrador mix, the man had told us. We had picked him up in Alabama. I remember waking up sweaty with hundreds of mosquito bites. Joe had already gone for breakfast inside the truck stop restaurant. I crawled out of the sleeper, popped the door open, and climbed down the side of the truck. The thick air made it hard to breathe, and walking past rows of semis, the dangerous smell of diesel hit me hard. And that's when I noticed an old man sitting on the tailgate of his beat-up F-150, with a dog sitting next to him. A cardboard sign between them that read "Free Dog." I stopped and looked again in disbelief that someone would be giving away their dog. Trouble's head stretched high, nose twitching at all the parking lot smells, his eyes squinting in the morning sun. Someone had chopped off half of his tail, too. His owner sat there throwing hulls of boiled peanuts onto the pavement, some getting caught in his beard. He wore a Bud Light cap and dressed in more clothing than one man should for how hot it was. I found Joe sitting down with a to-go box of eggs, grits, and bacon, eating with all the other truckers. Joe offered me some, and I scarfed it down, washing it down with a Coke. "Daddy," I said, "a man outside is giving away a dog." And he looked at me like I didn't need to get any ideas. As we were pulling out of the lot, Joe came to a stop. "That dog there?" he asked. "Yeah, that one. He won't have a home. That man is getting rid of him." "We ain't got a home," Joe rolled his head. Joe got out, walking over to the man, and I jumped out, easing over to Trouble. He turned his head to me as I held out my hand. "He's a male," I heard the man say. "Come here, boy," I said. The hot tailgate burned the back of my thighs as I eased down to sit with him. He came over and licked my hand, as my other hand reached for his head, then back down his neck and back. His hot, thick fur reminded me of a soft blanket left out to dry. He ducked his head, thrusting it up under my armpit so that my elbow rested just along the other side of him. He turned to lick my eye. "Please, please," I said. "I'll take good care of him." Next thing I knew, Trouble was hopping up in our semi, me pushing his butt up the second step. He sat in my lap, paws pressed into the leather armrest, trucking along with me. He shoved his head underneath my arm as I rolled the window down, the warm wind pouring in. 3 weeks later, we were off to North Dakota, and I'd wondered about the homes we picked up in one location, dropping off in another. They traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles on wheels, rolling on to new destinations. We'd unhitched the trailers, moving them from wheels onto cinder blocks stacked on top of the earth. New homes with kitchens and showers that no human had stepped into. We made a stop at a Motel 8 along the way, taking a break from the heat. Trouble sat close to me, panting hard after we had run through an open field just on the other side of the motel. The street lights gleamed on the surface of the pool, water sloshing against the concrete edges. A mother and her son splashed and dove. My feet dangled in the water as I glared up at the neon motel sign. Joe sat on the plastic poolside chairs behind me. I had no idea where we'd be the next day or the next. I watched the mother toss her son into the air. He fell into the water, disappearing for a few moments. And in the little time he disappeared, the mother's laughter filled me up with something good. And I had wondered if the little boy could feel it too, underwater, beneath the tireless night sky. My mother said she tried to put an all points bulletin out, but the local police refused to follow through. Amber Alert had just been created the year before, named after the abducted and murdered 9-year-old girl from Arlington, Texas. In Georgia, they referred to it as Levi's Call. The alert named after Levi Frady, a boy who went missing and was later found dead and whose homicide is still unsolved. I didn't find out until later, from my grandmother, that I had been kidnapped by Joe. My grandmother drove all around South Georgia looking in parking lots of truck stops. Lord, Brooke, you were gone a long time, she reminds me. The city lights blazed in the distance. It would be one stop of many. We must have made 100 trips back and forth to North Dakota, carrying shelter for those who had lost so much. And Joe couldn't keep a trucking partner long enough because no one could keep up with him. He never slept, but he did get Driver of the Year that year. He fell asleep at the wheel a lot, and once running off the road, throwing me out of the sleeper onto the gear shift, skinning my shin from ankle to knee. I didn't sleep much after that either. Double-wide trailers rolled along down interstate hooked to the truck, yellow tape flapping in the wind that read in huge, bold black letters, "Oversized load." We stopped every now and then to stock up on canned Cokes and peanut butter and cheese crackers. A blue cooler filled with ice sat between our seats in the truck. For miles and miles, I heard the ice rocking against the plastic corners of the cooler, and the Cokes making an orchestra of aluminum against aluminum. It sounded like half-dead fish in there, trying to make it out alive.
No, we never heard that before, Brooke. And yeah, Barry's giving you a thumbs up yet again. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal writing. Thank you. Thank you.
Brooke, is this book published yet? But
No.
you're trying to get it published?
Mm-hmm. Maybe
It'll
one
get
day.
published.
Maybe
It'll
one
get-
day.
It'll get there for sure.
Thank you, Niles. Thank you. All right, Jane. Sorry, but you got to follow Brooke.
Now I gotta follow her, and Tim, and Niles, and Barry.
I know.
All right, all you Southerners, we're gonna take it north.
That's
And I have to give you a little alert. There's, whoa, what happened? Whoa, what happened?
You're totally there, Jane. We see you, we hear you. I don't know what.
I don't know. I'm clicking on everything and I can't see anything. Okay, I'll just read.
Okay, you're good. We can see you and you look terrific.
Oh, okay, fine. So anyway, this is an excerpt from a short story. It's a small 3-minute excerpt. Short story is entitled Patron Saint of Southie. It's a short story in a short story cycle entitled To the Next Home Run. It's set in Boston in 1975. And Boston's a powder keg after the court order to integrate schools by busing. And the main character, Bobby O'Byrne, who's a South Boston mobster / bar manager, celebrates St. Patty's more than any day of the year. It's his favorite day. But this year he finds a brutally beaten Black girl in the alley behind his bar at 2 o'clock after the parade in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he takes her to Boston City Hospital, and he returns the next day to sit with the unconscious Jane Doe. And he has some time to think. Okay, so here we go. He listened to the machines hum, and there's some language in this, just be aware. He listened to the machine's hum and watched the girl until his eyes lost focus. His mother's bloodied face replaced the one before him on the bed. How did it all get so far, he thought. Under his mom's watchful eye, he'd supported the family the right way after his da left, juggling 3 part-time jobs. But as the youngest kids demanded more of her attention, he'd slipped over a line unnoticed, finding ways to bring home more money with less effort. His Catholic conscience had struggled, but over time, Bobby had smothered his inner voice with the thick pillow of family need. Darker thoughts and recollections crowded in until he could no longer sit. He got to his feet, paced the room, and looked at the clock, finally saying to the unconscious girl in the bed, "I gotta go now, Jane," or whatever your name is. He touched a spot on the back of her left hand. "I'll be back tomorrow. We're gonna find out who you are." Bobby retraced his route across the south end, under the elevated highway and onto and into Southie, where he slowed and pulled into an empty spot. He shut off the engine and sat behind the wheel, looking down the visible length of West Broadway, the site of yesterday's grand parade. He sat thinking how happy he'd been as a kid. In fact, his whole life, celebrating St. Patrick at all those parades. Oh yeah, he thought it was evacuation day too, the day the bloody British fled Boston Harbor scared silly. But St. Patrick was the main event. Something about him I loved since I was little, since I went to church. Aloud, he said, "And those goddamn bastards who did this just desecrated his day. Feckin' bastards." He punctuated the last expletive by leaning on his horn, letting it wail until a pedestrian walked by and thumped his hood. He blasted it again in retort. He was in no mood for comments. The dam in Bobby's heart let go. For 40 years, the wall had held back all the terror and the horror of the world he navigated, had allowed him to swim along with his head just above water. He felt as if he were shooting a ravine, both sides collapsing in on him while he floundered. His eyes filled with tears that had been held at bay for decades. He blubbered like a 5-year-old, and when he thought his tears were spent, they came anew. "Christ almighty, thank God no one can see me." He couldn't seem to get to the bottom of the swell, and he couldn't get above it. He finally stopped fighting and let it wash over him, until at last the wave receded. Bobby reached in his back pocket for a handkerchief, blew his nose, wiped his eyes, and tilted the rearview mirror. His bloodshot eyes stared back. "I ain't prayed in years," he began, "but so help me God, something's got to change. St. Patrick, stay beside me, something's going to change. I'll find every last one of them bastards and see them on bloody knees, begging forgiveness before I'm done with this thing." He restarted the caddy and began to roll down Broadway to the Four Leaf Tavern. Behind him, the winter sun slouched toward the iron structure of the expressway, a brilliant finale to the day. A low angle rays reflected off the dense buildings, bathing his hometown in red. Southie's never gonna look the same to me. That's it.
Hey, Jane, that was fantastic.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's all new. That's all new for us. Thank you so, that was well done. Thanks for taking us north, but that was kind of a
That's
tough
just a little
trip.
foodie.
Yeah, that was a tough trip.
Really feels like
you're-
Boston in that period. Complete with harbor.
Harbor.
I love the pronunciation. I love
I can't do y'all.
Yes. Your emotion, the emotion in that is just incredible, Jane.
Thank you.
You really dug it out.
Thank
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, well, Miss Catherine Tandy Brown, with that compliment, you get to you get to follow Miss Jane, please.
Wow. Okay. I'm reading once again from Memoir in Progress. that's called Anne, Queen of the Wing Chair. Anne, Queen of the Wing Chair was my mother. And if you listen closely, there is a barred owl right across the street. So I might have a little bird in the background while I'm reading. He's been talking the entire time. Okay, here we go. This is an excerpt from Anne, Queen of the Wing Chair. This is right after I moved to Beaufort. Beaufort grabbed my heart and held it fast until 2006, when I finally sold my 1940s red brick cottage in Kentucky, packed my possessions, and purchased a sage green lowcountry house with a marsh view, screened porch, rosemary bushes the size of tumbleweed, and a pond that hosts great blue herons, wood storks, and river otters. My mannerly mother, lover of all things Southern, would have approved. Though my back lawn is now the Discovery Channel mate, my favorite part of moving to South Carolina has been unpacking treasures from Mom's estate, most of which had been tucked away in climate control storage since her passing. One in particular was the cherry blanket chest that in her French country abode had held soft cotton embroidered pillow slips, hand pressed, not by her, and extra guest pillows ranging in firmness from baby cushy to testosterone tough. One rainy Sunday afternoon, about a month after my driver's license officially identified me as a South Carolinian, I opened the chest to discover which precious linens I'd carefully tucked away. It now felt pretty bad and set a pretty table in my handsome two-story house. I'd scarcely noticed a stunning hand-stitched quilt on top made from star-shaped blocks of vivid colors on a snowy background when an aroma engulfed me and memories began to flow. Suddenly Anne is in the room dressing for an evening out, perhaps cocktails and a formal dinner at the Elegant Cooch and Four, or a gala fundraiser at the Paducah Art League. Smart alligator pumps grace her slender size 6.5 AAA feet. Critiquing the reflection of a fresh scrubbed, glowing face that has never seen an ounce of makeup, she perches on a rattan stool at her dressing table, lightly dabbing Chanel No. 5 with a glass stopper, but behind each pearl earringed lobe at the nape of her narrow olive neck and on the delicate skin inside both wrists. As observer, I could have been 6 or 16, transported from my 59-year-old self as completely as I was by her scent. Carefully lifting the coverlet from the chest, I looked beneath. Spruce trees laden with bright colored balls and silver strands of tinsel dance gaily on crisp white placemats with green napkins carefully rolled into monogrammed silver napkin rings. I take another whiff. Sporting a proud grin, the Queen steps into our dining room on Christmas Eve carrying a perfect Charlotte russe, fresh from her kitchen, spectacular in a deep crystal bowl that shows off layers of lady fingers, custard, and with all crowned by a sprig of holly with deep red berries, just the shade of her lipstick. Though the memories are warm, heart-deep tears blur my vision as I glimpse sheets made vivid by impressionistic pastel flowers of pale turquoise, rose, cornflower, and mustard, edged with 4 rows of matching rick-rack. The crow loved her colors. Pressing my nose to the sheets for a brief inhale, I lift the bedclothes from the chest and spread the Queen's linens appropriately, a new queen-sized brass bed. I plop atop the soft quilty spread, remembering untold numbers of games of double solitaire with Mom as we both sat cross-legged atop this same garden of delights. Then come beach towels, one with fat golden white stripes and other the hue of sand and covered with a seashell print. Still another brings a laugh, instantaneous and unbidden. The comic strip character Kathy appears on a beach towel in a bathing suit with a wide-brimmed straw hat and huge sunglasses. Covering the rest of the towel are large signs proclaiming its owner, in other words, me, her unmarried daughter, to be available, available, available. As she aged, my mother wanted nothing more than grandchildren, but all she ever got from my sister or me were the 4-legged varieties, grand kitties, grand dogs, and grand horses. That's the end of this particular part.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Pull out memory.
a hard thing to write and a hard thing to share. Yeah, the memories, you did a beautiful job bringing memory to all of us. Thank you, Catherine. And I would like to ask you, the next time
Thank
you invite your owl friend, make sure he registers for Zoom, okay?
Did you hear the?
Can you
owl?
hear him?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, he's right across the street. I'll do that.
At least it's not a fly. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna keep going. The next three folks in our lineup tonight are Susan Jean McCartney, Brad Beck, please. Brad, you'll be next, and then Miho. So, but Susan has stepped away. So I'll come back to Susan. Brad, if you don't mind going next, I'd really appreciate it.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Sure. I don't mind. I just hope you all don't mind, because I'm going to try to debut my second attempt at songwriting here, noting that the first attempt didn't work out very well. So that's my history. So I hope songs and lyrics are good. So to save myself embarrassment and to save you from being embarrassed for me, I'm just going to sing the chorus of this song I've written. The other reason is because I haven't worked out all the music for it, but I'm not that good of a musician, but I do have the lyrics. So I'm going to play and sing the chorus. I think this will give you a flavor for the song. So I like to think of this as if Dr. Seuss and Jimmy Buffett were in the same room drinking some beers, they might write a song like this. I may be giving myself too much credit, though, I'm not sure. So this song is called Gotta Pee, and I'm not talking about the garden type. Okay? So I'm going to give this a go. I gotta pee. So I look to the sea. I'm here on the beach, no bathrooms in reach. My bladder's in motion, I'm going to the ocean. 'Cause I gotta pee. Okay, that's the chorus. So here's the lyrics. So if you can imagine the chorus kind of fitting in here. So the song starts out like this. We all get together once every year. Great friends, sun and sand, and a whole lot of beer. We drink, eat, and banter, party all day. We act like a bunch of third graders at play. Next verse. We pull coolers and chairs down the beach to the sand, break out a book, catch the Tiki Hut band. We chill on the beach, talking and drinking. What's for dinner is the only deep thinking. Coolers pop open, it's never too soon. We all break the rule, no beer before noon. The opening cracks of the day's first beers are like happy music to all of our ears. 3 or 5 beers we can easily down before eyes water. We're looking around. Who will be the first to get up and go? It'll be Gary. Everyone knows. The trip to the bathroom is way, way too long. My bladder screams that I'd never hang on. I'm here on the beach right next to the sea. I know where I'm going to take a pee. This may sound disgusting, but consider this. Where does the pee go from all of the fish? Flushing the toilet ends up in the sea. So skip the plumbing and go directly. I gotta pee. That's it.
Can we sing a chorus with you?
Yeah, please. I can only do this song because I feel like I'm amongst writer friends, and I have had a beer here, so that helps.
Can you please come sit by my fire pit and sing that song? I live right by the sea, you know.
Sure. Bring a six pack and we're good.
Yeah. We can.
I think you're going to be invited to everyone's outdoor parties now.
Wow, that would be a successful song in my.
I love Elvis right over your head watching.
Yeah, thank you. Inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
Velvet Elvis.
That's great.
Thanks for catching that, Barry.
No,
Well,
it's Velvet Elvis party.
I really love the fact that we've got mixed media going on now, Brad. Thanks for
Yeah.
making it up. So
Or mixed up media.
we're mixed media. Yeah, so get creative, everybody. We gotta, I don't know if we can, anybody can top Brad on that tonight, but
Somebody can come in dancing next time.
well,
That'd be great.
you're up next, so you can do
I can
interpret.
dance, right? Yeah.
Why don't you
I'm
give
gonna
us,
follow you. What?
I was gonna say, why don't you give us a short introduction and go ahead, please? Yeah, you're next, Susan.
Okay, this is one of my short stories, the collection I'm writing about my, it's a real true stories in my Africa adventures. November 14th, 2008. Into Africa, I fly on a one-way ticket, journey through 14 countries in 22 months on local transportation, learn, rest, change. A woman without advantage of youth or money. The journey has many pieces. This is one. Blue Fringe. November 21st, 2008. Tuzair, an oasis in southwestern Tunisia on the northern edge of the Sahara. A ringing morning, egg blue sky, gentle winter desert breeze. I dress in the black tunic and headscarf, obliged by Islam. Walk out into this Berber outpost, ramble down sand-packed Avenue Habib Bourguiba. Fine blinkered horses pull yellow and green carriages with wide tractor wheels. Turban drivers call, come ride. My budget smiles sadly, shakes its head. At the age-old market, I move in and out sun-glowed walls of lean-tos, tents, open-sided shacks. Scarves swirl, dresses flash and sway. Silver jewelry and pointed slippers sparkle. Rolls of carpet lay about. Merchants swathed in winter gray speak lyrical Berber language, soft as a secret. Pots of smoking frankincense ward off evil. A desert fox, tiny big-eared albino, stands by his merchant master, gapes huge pink eyes. Chess players bend to olive wood boards. Lizards skitter underneath. Women chat among heaped oranges, peaches, figs, pomegranates, bananas, medicinal plants, fresh fish from surrounding salt lakes, golden dates sold by the branch. Berber women wear long-sleeved, ankle-length, traditional scarlet togas pinned with gold amulets to blind the evil eye. Patchwork cloth winds around the scarlet. Gold hoop earrings dangle from colorful head wraps. Fewer women wear black. Abayas cloak their bodies. Hijabs cover their heads. These women examine and buy swirling, swaying, sparkling merchandise only worn in the privacy of their homes. Market hierarchy is ruled by carved beige brick stores. Just beyond the entrance of a store, tacked high on a wall, I see my perfect dress. Royal blue, square-necked, finely stitched outside seam. The hemline is gorgeous inches of embroidered fringe. I call through the crowd of merchandise. Could someone help me, please? Hello? Wait by the counter. Hello? Silence. The perfect dress whispers to me, gyrates blue fringe. A tall wooden ladder leans behind the counter. The dress is mine. I leave a pile of diners. In the privacy of my room, I sashay in blue fringe before gently tucking the dress away for future wear safely beyond the law of Islam.
Yay. The imagery there is amazing, Susan. Amazing. It's very, very rich writing. Thank you so much. Beautifully done. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for taking us not only north, but to an entirely different continent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing this whole thing about Tunisia right now. It's like there's about 5 stories, and I'm calling it Among Men because it's all about men, you know, because the women aren't anywhere in Tunisia, especially back then. So it's pretty interesting. The stories are coming along.
Well, we look forward to more. Thank you. Thank you. So we have 2 poets coming up. Well, we actually have 3 because I'm going to pick up the end on this gig. But I hardly can call myself a poet some days. We have Miho, and then Emily, and then myself. And then we'll round out the evening with Rebecca. So Miho, would you like to start us off, please?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I was gonna read the piece 3 p.m. in the backyard, but after hearing Catherine's owl, I'm gonna read something else. It's called 5 a.m. by the garage. 5 a.m. by the garage. Open the garage door. It is louder at this time of the day. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, great horned owl. He is in the woods by high water. Closer to me, a solo insect. The tone is wiry, repeating the 2 notes. Even closer to my feet, another bug with a lower voice, slower and dotted. Disappearing, disappeared. But no frog. When the intermittent torrential rain falls, how the chorus begins everywhere around the swimming pool too. We laugh in the swimming pool. The rain hurts and tickles our bare backs and the bottom of our feet. No cicada either. Often one begins, the others join in, and all of a sudden, silence. My childhood summer memory rings with ming, 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 ming. The chestnut tree was cut down. Crows complained and ate the loquats in revenge. No songbirds yet. Rachel Carson wrote about a mockingbird singing at midnight, repeating what he had heard during the day, adding the trills on his own. No Chuck Will's widow nearby, luckily. She's annoying, yet I have nothing against her, not even its neighbor. My house looks like someone else's house at 5 a.m. It was someone else's. It will be someone else's. Someone is stealing lumber from a construction site. I wait for more owl calls. The garage door lights are out. Thank you.
Yay.
Very nice.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
I'm grateful for Catherine's owl because that brought us the poetry that you chose. Thank you, Miho. That was really lovely. Kind of brought us down. It settled us down a little bit too. Thank you. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Yeah. All right, Miss Emily, you get to follow Miho. So it's all.
No, she's such a mystic. No, that's very hard to follow.
You'll be fine.
This poem I'm going to read is something I wrote in Brooke's workshop, her last workshop in September about imagery. So I would definitely recommend if any of you get a chance to take a workshop with Brooke. It was really amazing, and I highly recommend it. So this is she had us look at a picture and then write from a picture. That was one of the prompts. So the poem is When You Knock on My Door, and it's after the painting Cabello Blanco en el Salon by Jose Marino Villa, who is a surrealist painter. He had a lot of paintings in Malaga in Spain. when you knock on my door. A white horse dances on 2 legs. Her vanilla tail curls like smoke, points at the blossom of a scarlet chair, opened wide and ready to take you in its arms. A cross is lost on graying walls, and a woman in a navy dress, let's call her Reason, walks out into a burning forest, the quiet part of my heart that doesn't ask how long will you stay.
Ooh.
Wow.
Show everyone that picture one more time, Emily, because it's a really interesting. If you guys can see way in the background, the woman where Emily's, she's in a blue navy dress back there, and there's a cross beside her on the wall. It's a beautiful poem. I was lucky to be able to read the poem and have the picture, and Emily does a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Interpreting it to your own life. So thank you. Yeah, very nice.
I just want to quickly plug myself, if you don't mind.
Oh no, I was supposed to
bring everything back to my life. Let me just bring that more back to my life. I have a workshop with the Conroy Center in 2 weeks, starting the 21st. So please look at the Pat Conroy Center website and sign up if the workshop interests you.
No, Emily, thank you so much. I should have started this evening's program talking about the Pat Conroy Literary Festival coming up beginning November the 5th through the 8th. Thank you so much. No. So yeah, Emily's on a panel of poets. Are you on with Miho? Because I think Miho you're featured on it as well. No, okay, not this. Okay. But we have a wonderful lineup of workshops, panels, readings, interviews. It's all virtual. Many of the events are free, and there are plenty of workshops that address every genre and can offer you quite a wonderful array of writing opportunities and just ways to improve our craft. So I would highly recommend that you take time to get on the website and take a look at that. So Emily, again, thanks a ton. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so June, you've opted not to read this evening, correct? So you're just here okay, so I don't want to pass anyone up. And then I'll read a quick poem, and then Rebecca, I'll introduce you if that sounds like a plan. Sound good? All right, this is a real quick one. It's called Caught, and that's Pittsburgh for CAUGHT, Caught. September night, her move from low country palms to poplar and river birch, fresh. Her first sighting in the mountains is a spider framing a door corner with his web. He is centered. She is not. She watches a crane fly surrender to the spider's tangle, porch light reflecting silky silver fiber and her face. Rescue us, she thinks, but meddling in nature's course makes no sense. Hush, whispers her heart. Night 2, the web is sliced in half. No spider, she turns off the light. Night 3, flicks light on. Blue Ridge Spider-Man arcs through cool, considerate air. He weaves anew his mottled web, becoming whole, stronger. Dawn, dew beads on gossamer threads, death quenched by possibility. Okay, the end. All right, so let's get on to the featured reader of this evening, Rebecca Dwight Bruff. Rebecca Bruff earned her bachelor's degree in education at Texas A&M and master and doctorate degrees in theology at Southern Methodist University. An ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, she served several Dallas area congregations, focusing on spiritual formation and cross-cultural partnerships. Rebecca now serves part-time at the Carteret Street United Methodist Church and volunteers at the Pat Conroy Literary Center in Beaufort, South Carolina. In 2013, Rebecca heard the story of Robert Smalls, an enslaved man who liberated himself and others during the American Civil War and eventually became a US congressman. Surprised that she'd never heard his name and so captivated by his story, she left her job and moved across the country to research and write Trouble the Water, based on Small's life and legacy. And I can tell you from personal experience, we're very glad that you took that risk, Rebecca. That's was quite a risk to take. Her second book, and I'm going to try and pull this up a minute, you guys, so hang on. It's going to be a little big, and I'm going to scroll down. Stars of Wonder. And let's see if it turns back to the right color, and it's not. So I'm doing the best I can there, Rebecca. Written by Rebecca Dwight Bruff and illustrated by Jill Dubin. Of her book, in a recent review, Susan Diamond Riley wrote, "What if the three magi who visited baby Jesus were children? This delightful new twist on a beloved story draws young readers right into the action as they travel toward Bethlehem and the new baby king. Rebecca Dwight Bruff's lyrical storytelling, heartwarming life lessons, and relatable characters blend perfectly with Jill Dubin's vivid artwork to become an instant holiday classic." And this book was just released this month, October. Please welcome Rebecca Bruff, reading from her new book, Stars of Wonder. So take it away, Rebecca.
Thanks, Vivian. I appreciate it. It's awfully nice to spend the evening with all of you. And oh my gosh, your writing. I'm so inspired and wow. So thank you, each of you who share. That's powerful. So just a tiny little bit of backstory, Stars of Wonder. While I was waiting, when the manuscript of Trouble the Water was with the publisher, but before it was released, I was in kind of that like, what do I do now sort of thing with energy. I woke up one morning and I thought it would be really fun to just to do something for my grandchildren. I've got 4 grandkids, 3 little boys and a little girl. And I thought it'd be fun to write a story, and this just sort of emerged. So I'm just going to share part of the beginning of it with you. And I have to say, Jill Dubin's artwork is the images don't do it justice. She uses a cut paper collage process, and it's just scrumptious is the only way I can describe it. A very long time ago, in a place far away, there lived a royal family, 3 fine brothers, all princes, and their lovely sister, the princess. They lived in a beautiful village near the ocean and played on white sand beaches and took naps under swaying palm trees. And at night under the stars, their mother and father taught them all about the moon and the sun and the stars, even the constellations. One night as they lay on their blankets looking up into the heavens, Princess Phoebe thought she saw a new star. "Mama," she whispered. They whispered at night because the soft winds and the calls of the owls, there's a theme tonight, isn't there? The calls of the owls and the sound of the waves created such beautiful music. "Mama, look, that star. I think it's new. I don't remember seeing it there before." The oldest brother, Prince Jonah, had noticed the star too, and he was proud of his sister for seeing it and for asking about it, and he also wondered if it was new. The youngest brother, Prince Jacob, forgot to whisper. "It's the youngest, newest star, but it's so bright," he said excitedly. The middle brother, Prince Nathan, had been watching the star very carefully. "That is a special star," he said quietly, with a voice full of awe and wonder. Night after night, the family watched the bright new star, and every night it grew a little brighter. It seemed to be moving from east to west across the vast night sky. The princes and the princess were eager students, and they loved math and art and geography and history and literature and science because they knew the world wanted to teach them so much. They also liked to play kick and run. It was a game they invented, which centuries later became known as soccer. One morning after they finished their lesson and playing, they sat down for a snack and overheard their mother and father talking. "It's extraordinary," they heard the royal mama say. "Indeed it is. It's never happened before and may never happen again. And we get to witness it in our own night sky," royal papa agreed. What could this extraordinary thing be? The royal and wise children wondered as they kept listening. I believe, their father was saying, that this fine bright star is leading the way to a new king, the greatest king the world has ever known. "But where?" asked the royal mama. "Where is this fine new king to be found?" "Ah, that is the question," said royal papa. "I suppose we will never know, for he's surely very far away. A person would have to follow the star wherever it leads. It could be a journey of many days, maybe longer. I'm afraid we'll never know." That afternoon, after swimming in the clear blue oceans, the princess and her princely brothers sat on the warm sand. They all seemed to have the same idea. So I'll stop there, except I do want to share the final paragraph of this section as they pull their plan together. The royal brother and sister agreed that they wouldn't mention their plans to their parents because they didn't want them to worry. This was not their best idea, they realized in retrospect.
This is,
That's the beginning of the little adventure that these curious children have, and they follow the star. They have some misadventures. They meet a funny little stranger and get lost, get found, all the good stuff.
yeah, we're thrilled. We're just thrilled for you, Rebecca. As Rebecca and I were exchanging emails, getting ready for this evening, my comment to Rebecca was, it's just really a wonderful thing tonight to end on the idea of following our stars, following the stars to something brighter and better and inspirational and full of hope. And your success by sharing it with all of us and just the idea of hope is a wonderful way to spend the evening. So thank you
so often. I think the children show us that and remind us of that and teach us so much of that. So.
Can you show us the book cover again?
Sure.
Okay, Stars of Wonder.
Oh,
and that's out now. That's out and available.
It's up for pre-order now. The release date is November 15th. It's up for pre-order everywhere, and I hope you'll do that at your local independent bookseller.
I just checked Amazon and I pre-ordered it because I looked right away.
Hey, Jim.
I buy everybody's book.
It's I wrote it in a way that I hope would be fun for adults to read with children. I know some of us have read the same story over and over and over with a child, and we want to skip pages. So I tried to make it fun for adults, but I think it'll be fun for children and families to read together.
Well, Rebecca, my 7-year-old granddaughter said yesterday, I wish I could find a shooting star so I can wish and learn how to fly. So that's going to be one of her Christmas presents.
So I have to I'll tell you a really brief story, and I know we need to wrap up, but when I was about 80% through with this, I sent the manuscript to both of my sons and their wives to share with the kids and kind of get their feedback. They're between 4 and 11. And so I asked for their feedback, and my granddaughter, Phoebe, Princess Phoebe, her daddy recorded her response, and she loved the story, but she put her little hands on her little hips and she said, Nana, it needs a meteor shower. So it has a meteor shower.
Okay.
But there's something magical about stars and dreams and adventures.
There
Thank
is.
you all for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There is.
Thank you
There
very
is.
much.
We see
Yeah,
it.
yay, everybody. This was a beautiful, beautiful evening together. Fantastic writing, fantastic reading, and just a lot of beautiful faces. I'm so glad you joined us. Please go online to the Pat Conroy Literary Center .eventbrite.com, and you'll learn more about Emily's workshop and others. Brooke and Jonathan are working super hard to get everything organized. Again, that's Pat Conroy Literary Center .eventbrite, BRITE.com. Our next open mic is November 12th. We're starting to round out the year. I don't know what the full moon is in November, a cold moon, I think. I'm not sure, but we'll see you there under the stars, under the moon, and have a safe and happy evening. Great to be with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vivian.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
So good to see you.
Same here.
Oh,
Bye. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Vivian and Jonathan.
You're welcome. It was fantastic reading tonight, everybody.
It was amazing.